Now on going to this topic, I am of the view that why we should confer award upon the journalist, that to subaltern journalism award in the name of Dr. Ambedkar. So the topic also poignantly reminds us to have a look at the history. The freedom of the press, speech, and the right. These rights are conferred, bestowed, given to us not simply. And running a press, running a media is not an ordinary joke. You have to undergo a lot of trauma, turmoil, adversity, stiff opposition, resistance. If you take Socrates, the first and foremost ancient philosopher in the world, he was given a hemlock poison. For what? For talking in an atheist way. He was a rebellious, an intellectual persona like Dr. Ambedkar. So when Socrates said he was accused of corrupting the youth, the young, and they said he should be given a hemlock and he should be poisoned to death. He was given a capital punishment for creating awareness, for being rebellious, for making the people to think, question the authority, question the legitimacy, question the wrongdoers, why, what, where, why, how. So the authorities, people who were in power at that time, did not want an opposition to be made against them. Now in the 5th century, before the birth of Christ, Protagoras, an eminent philosopher, his book was burned. He was burned to death. Why? He questioned the existence of God. That's the reason he was poisoned to death. Then subsequently, if you go by the history, why is it so important? Because how the rights of the press and how Ambedkar plays a very crucial role in liberating the rights of the people through the medium of press. Now we call it as a fourth estate, most important pillar to protect the rights of the people. Now in the 16th century, more than that, if you take the most eminent philosophers in the world, starting from Galileo to Copernicus, they said that they made a scientific inquiry. They did not rely upon the dogma, religious dogma or superstition as propounded by Swami Vivekananda. If you take Swami Vivekananda, he says, if you read Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi, you can read the whole history of India. To read the whole history of India, you are supposed to read only two personalities here. One is Dr. Ambedkar and another is, I think everybody is silent here, Mahatma Gandhi. Now, Rajendra Prasad, this hall exists in the name of the former president Rajendra Prasad, who was the first president of India, who was a lawyer, whose birth anniversary is celebrated as a Lawyer's Day. Now, when I said that, the eminent philosophers like Copernicus and Galileo, more than that, Hugo Grotius, Who was Hugo Grotius? As a lawyer, he was considered to be the father of international law. He was a founder of international law. Today, the League of Nations, United Nations, the rule of law all over the world exists only because of the father of international law, Hugo Grotius. His book was banned, questioned by the authorities because he spoke on the concept of universal brotherhood and against the discrimination, oppression, injustice like war crimes, so many other factors. Not only that, if you take Gibbon, Francis Bacon, or John Stuart Mill, or even Adam Smith, or John Locke, the ancient philosophers, the foundational political science experts, and the forefront fathers of journalism, all these people, writings were banned. Now you need to get a clearance from whom? Initially, the church, the canonical power came into the picture. Interestingly, because a journalist, you are getting the award, you should know the history and the background as to how the rights of the press came into existence all over the world. In the 14th century, 15th century, close by, there was a famous lawyer, Byron. What he did? He was an Oxford educated lawyer. He wrote against the authorities, against the church. For making such a rebellious writing, he was disrobed. He was removed from the position of a lawyer. Then a £5,000 at that time penalty was imposed. He paid the penalty. Not only that, his Oxford education was cancelled. He was degraded. More than that, shockingly, you will not believe, his 2 years was cut off. He was mutilated. Now only we have heard about Jesus Christ getting crucified, which became a Bible. People all over the world, they praise and portray. That's a great thing. But what happened to this lawyer? His ears were cut off. He did not stop with that. He wrote again. Not only he, along with him, 3 other people were given the same punishment. When he wrote for the second time, the stem of the ears which started to grow, that was also cut off for the second time. And he was given a life imprisonment this time. This led to sympathy and indignation across all over in United Kingdom. Then subsequently, the laws, now we call it as a libellous law, which is slander in law. Libel, a person, when he writes something against the government, it is considered to be libellous in nature in law. And slander is the one when a person makes a provocative speech or make a vituperative or outrageous speech condemning the acts of the government. Because when the gunpowder, when the art of printing came into existence, lot of tyranny and autocratic rule of the government were criticized by the people, by the intellectual scholarly writing. It is only the intellectual scholars, they question the authorities. Now, after these incidents, the government in monarchical government withdrew the act of punishing the writers for making a rebellious writing. That was for a temporary period, only for 20 years, 20 to 30 years. During that period, when these punishments were withdrawn, history says that in the decade of 20 years, almost 40,000 articles were written. And these articles are still preserved in the Museum of London to honor, to make a homage and respect to the great writers who wrote in a dissenting way. As a lawyers, we used to say that dissent is the essence of democracy. Everybody concur in a democracy, it's not a democracy. It is an autocratic rule. Why we should have democracy? Democracy can be preserved when people, intellectual scholars, the right against the government by criticizing its negative pitfalls and attitudes. It can be controlled only by the medium of press or speech of expression. Through that, government can be controlled, not through way of elections.
We know that your library worth is almost 9 crore rupees actually, the book you are having in your library. This is the reflection. And many people, even sometimes we call him judge's nightmare, all over the places, not only from the trial court up to Supreme Court. So this is the reflection that you may be having the library worth of 9 crore rupees, but you are having also secret library at your home, 3 floors. Sometime you will get an opportunity to get some benefit out of that. And you said in the beginning that no, quantity does not matter, it's a quality.
हमारे चैनल
कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन
लाइक
शेयर
सब्सक्राइब
देखना
मत भूलिएगा।
जय भीम
जय भारत,
जय संविधान।
नमो बुद्धाय।
धन्यवाद।
चैनल आर्थिक समस्या से गुजर रहा है। अगर आप बहुजन समाज में बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर और तथागत बुद्ध की विचारधारा को अधिक से अधिक लोगों तक पहुंचाना चाहते हैं तो हमें आर्थिक सहयोग प्रदान करें, ताकि हम अपने चैनल के माध्यम से देश विदेश में समता, बंधुता, एकता और संवैधानिक अधिकारों को ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचा सकें। आप अपनी सहायता राशि नीचे लिखे खाते में जमा करा सकते हैं। खाता धारक गौतम रत्ना, खाता संख्या 3169576861, IFSC कोड SBIN 0060336, बैंक भारतीय स्टेट बैंक। आप हमारे बैंक खाते का विवरण स्क्रीन पर भी देख सकते हैं।